Oh, welcome back. So now we're going to hit the moment where the story stops being history and it becomes a smoking gun. Welcome to episode 3 of The Loop. We've entitled this episode The Cliff, how Democrats set the 2025 disaster in motion. Here's the pivot in the entire series. This is how it goes. This is where the receipts start to burn. This is where you see exactly how the 2025 healthcare panic wasn't an accident. It wasn't a surprise. It wasn't a natural disaster. The 2025 subsidy cliff was scheduled. It was constructed. It was designed. It was designed by the same people crying on television right now about the cliff materialized out of thin air. Today we're going to show you how Democrats built the bomb, they set the timer, and walked away. And now they want credit for warning you that the bomb is ticking. There were 3 key moments where Democrats made deliberate choices about subsidy expirations. First time was in 2010. The Affordable Care Act structure itself. The Affordable Care Act's subsidy formulas were always intended to ratchet upwards. But the enhanced subsidies weren't permanent. They were added on top and scheduled for some later date. All right, fast forward 11 years. 2021, the American Rescue Plan. Democrats expanded subsidies dramatically. Now, this is COVID time, right? But set them to expire at the end of 2022. Not because they had to, not because Republicans demanded it, not because the law even required it. They chose temporary because temporary becomes leverage. A year later, in 2022, the Inflation Reduction Act. Okay. Democrats extended the expansions again to the end of 2025. And here's the key. 2025 wasn't chosen because it made economic sense. It was chosen because it made political sense. They placed the expirations after the 2024 presidential elections and before the 2026 midterms. So during the first budget cycle of the next Congress, exactly in the middle of their planned spending fights. So when a CR shutdown was guaranteed, it was perfectly right. Okay. This wasn't poor planning. This was strategic timing. Think of it as planting a landmine in the fiscal calendar and hoping the other party steps on it. 2025 is a special year in federal budgeting. Every insider knows this. Here's why. Major provisions of the 2017 tax cut expire. The budget baseline resets. The Congressional Budget Office projections tighten. Mandatory spending pressures spike. The healthcare markets reprice for 2026. So here's the meaning of that. 2025 was already a political hurricane. It was already a political cluster, you know what. Democrats took that hurricane and stuffed in another tornado. By choosing December 31st, 2025 as a subsidy expiration date, they guaranteed guaranteed a funding crisis, maybe even a shutdown threat, which is going to lead to a premium spike. Headlines, headlines, headlines screaming, millions may lose health care coverage. So pressure on the Republicans to, quote, save the subsidies. Media narratives painting any hesitation as pure cruelty. This is not a conspiracy theory. This is budget mechanics. This is political timing. This is legislative calculus. So when you know how the machinery works, you see the fingerprints everywhere. Okay, now let's talk about the other half of the game. The media memory hole. The same outlets that cheered the subsidy expansion in 2021 and 2022 completely skipped the part where those expansions were temporary. And they were, again, temporary by design. They were temporary by democratic choice. Temporary knowing what would happen when they expired. Again, today you hear phrases like, a crisis is looming. Millions may lose coverage. Republicans must act. Healthcare hangs in the balance. But what you never hear is this. Democrats wrote the expiration date in the law. You won't hear the enhanced subsidies were never permanent. And you will absolutely never hear this. The party that built the cliff is blaming the party that didn't. The media hides the cause so they can amplify the effect. It's like reporting on a fire and never mentioning who lit the match. All right, let's be clear here. The 2025 cliff isn't a policy failure. It's a political strategy. People keep saying, they're so dumb. You know, God, they're so stupid. They're not. The worst thing that we can do is we can underestimate the caginess of the left. This is a political strategy. Democrats figured out a long time ago that temporary benefits cause permanent political leverage. Here's how it works. Tell me if you've not noticed this. Tell me if you've not seen this. We create a program, but we make it temporary. And then we expand it. Make more people dependent. And then we set it to expire. And then we scream when anybody tries to let it expire. We use panic to demand that it be made permanent. It's the oldest trick in Washington. Give people something for a little while, then accuse the other guy of taking it away. You know what it is, right? It's a drug dealer. The dealer's got the drugs. It says, hey man, go ahead and take those. Go ahead. No, that's fine. I got you, man. I got you. Knowing damn well you're gonna get hooked on it, right? He may even give you when you come back, he may even give you another hit. But that third hit, you're gonna pay for one way or the other. You're gonna pay for one way or the other. You're gonna pay for in money. You're gonna pay for in deed, but you're gonna pay for it. This is what they do. This is what they do. And this is what they're doing now. So by setting the expiration date in 2025, at the peak of the budget tensions, Democrats set the stage for the exact crisis they're now warning you about. And the moment Republicans hesitate, the media rolls out words like cruel and extremist and dangerous and heartless and anti-healthcare. When in reality, Democrats put healthcare at millions at risk, designing subsidies that were temporary. They were unfunded long term. They were structurally unsound. They were dependent on a future Congress. It's one thing to hand someone a life jacket, but it's another thing to hand them a time limited life jacket. Here's a life jacket. Yeah, but all the air is going to come out in 15 minutes. You'll be okay for 15 minutes. You better hope you get rescued. But all the air is going to leak out. And then the lead's going to be released, and you're going to sink to the bottom like a rock. Right? So what the cliff really proves is this. Here's a very uncomfortable truth. If the Affordable Care Act was a stable, functional healthcare framework, it wouldn't suffer a meltdown the moment subsidies expire. This 2025 cliff proves this. If the Affordable Care Act cannot stand on its own, we've seen that. The coverage math only works with massive taxpayer funding. The enhanced subsidies were a political band-aid. The system was never affordable in the first place. Premiums, deductibles, out-of-pocket costs were artificially hidden. And millions were placed in a system that collapses without government cash. And they knew this from the start. The cliff isn't a glitch. The cliff is just a diagnosis. The Affordable Care Act is stable only when Congress keeps pumping injections of taxpayer money. No injections, the patient crashes. And the Democrats knew this from jump. They designed the damn thing that way. Now, if you think I've been cynical and critical up until this point, here's the most cynical part of the entire story. Democrats set the subsidy cliff so that when the crisis hit, they could blame Republicans for not fixing it. Because you're not blind, you see the pattern. Democrats create the subsidy, Democrats set the expiration, Democrats extend the expiration, Democrats set the new expiration, then Democrats say, if Republicans don't extend this, they're killing healthcare. Imagine a mechanic loosening the lug nuts off your car and then blaming you when the wheel falls off. Every time you go in to get an oil change or something, they take a lug nut off. You will get gasoline, somebody takes the lug nut off. And they keep doing it. And then eventually your wheel falls off. And you go because only went to the same person. And they go and they say, well, this is your fault. That's 2025. That's this year. Now, hopefully, you can see why this whole continuing resolution fight was so intense. This CR is not just about keeping government open. It was about the future of the Affordable Care Act subsidies, the future of the individual market, the future of $100+ billion policy, the future of Democrats' healthcare messaging, and the question, who gets blamed if the thing goes off the cliff on December 31st, 2025. The cliff is the entire political battlefield and the reason Democrats refuse any CR without subsidy extensions. And the reason they're threatening shutdowns and the like, this reason why they fought so hard for so long. It's the reason they're framing every negotiation life or death. Everything is life or death. If the Republicans don't do this, people are going to die. They're fighting to avoid responsibility for the expiration date that they created. They could have made that expiration date 50 years from now. They could have made it 100 years from now. They could have made the damn thing permanent. They could have, but they didn't. No one could stop them. Republicans didn't have enough votes. They could just be mad about it, but that'll be it. And then maybe there was some chance of repeal. I guess there's a chance of repeal on anything, but Democrats could have made these subsidies permanent. Or they could have put them so far out in the future where it didn't matter. 100 years from now, where we would all be dead. We would all be long gone. Wouldn't matter to us. But they didn't. They are fighting to avoid responsibility for the expiration date that they created. All right, this was episode 3. In episode 4, we're going to go straight into the explosion itself, the real world consequences, the premium spikes, the insurance exits, and the manufactured panic engineered from day one. Welcome to the loop. This is the morning report. When the truth gets uncomfortable for Washington, stay right here. We're not done.